We're on. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Or what did Norm call it? Rock, Hands, and Granadas?
Yeah, rock, hands, and granadas, I think he said.
I am Matt Connerton, and this is the Honorable Gary Hopper, State Representative Gary Hopper.
You use that term quite loosely, Matt. Thank you very
Honorable?
much.
Oh,
I
yeah.
appreciate that.
That's with a capital H, isn't
yes,
it?
yes, absolutely. It's actually one of the, I've probably said this before, it's actually one of the few things you obtain by being elected.
Yes.
Is that title of honorable, and that's forever.
Excellent.
So even if you're not a state legislator, if you've ever been one, you can actually legally sign your
Really? Yeah.
the honorable. Yes.
Very
It
nice.
might not be the case,
Right.
you know, in a
Right.
practical sense, but technically you're within your right to do so.
Which is great. And do you do that? Like, do you sign your name, Honorable Gary Hopper?
No, because I don't want people to actually know I'm in office, because then they'll
Oh, right.
expect certain reasonable behavior.
Yes, yes.
So I can't actually act like myself.
Didn't you? I saw something on Facebook. Speaking of reasonable behavior, you were. Oh, our guest is here.
I'm so sorry. I almost got blown away.
That's all right. It's windy. It's winter.
Everybody knows it's windy.
Oh. I haven't heard that song in so long. But were you? While we wait for Karen, weren't you reprimanded? You posted something on Facebook. You were told there's no laughing on the Judiciary Committee.
Well, that wasn't actually reprimanded. It was
A scolding?
no. I made it sound like that for political humorous purposes.
Yes, yes.
What it was is in every committee has an office where where you go and you have all your drawers for your stuff and things like that. And in
Yeah.
the office, in between hearings, one of the other legislators came up and he said it as kind of a joke, but he says, you know, we don't laugh here on the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah,
And I said, we do now.
yeah. Well,
But he was just kidding around, because it is people take themselves quite seriously on the Judiciary Committee.
really? Yes.
Except me.
Yes, yes.
Except me. I can't help it. Are you okay?
Yeah. I just got blown away. I literally almost got blown out of the...
It's pretty bad out there, yeah.
It's really
But I
bad.
still look wicked good, even though I didn't have my comb. Yeah, I know.
I'm so glad you combed your hair.
I didn't. I did.
Oops,
This
my
is always
mistake.
perfect.
It's always perfect?
Yeah,
Yes.
that's always
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
I use super glue.
You do?
Yeah, I just
I
comb
thought you
in
just
super
sprayed
glue,
it a lot.
and that pretty much fixes it. Okay, so I wanted to go over what happened a little bit today. This is the pink sheet. Oh, there, get it on Karen.
The pink sheet.
Pink sheet.
We gotta
Can't
switch
show
cameras.
this.
there we go.
Okay,
There's a-
pink
Oh,
sheet.
good.
That is, in fact, a pink sheet?
That is a pink sheet. No, I'll tell you. I'll give you a little history. This is
Did
the,
they ever do lavender sheets? Or
no, they do
Oh,
pink.
okay.
It's always pink.
Always
The
pink.
House Republican Alliance, which is one of the groups that I'm a member of, it's the conservative members of the New Hampshire House, issues. Do we get together as a group and decide on how the House Republican Alliance's position on different bills? And I probably can't read any of this because it's too small at this point. But
Do you need help? We've got an
okay,
extra pair of
House Bill
glasses.
228 was a bill we took up first thing this morning at 10 o'clock, and that was a bill to prohibit basically the state from funding Planned Parenthood.
I know you made national news on that one.
We did?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I've
Not
been
me-
blasting
not
it
me
all over
personally,
the...
the
No,
House.
not you. The
Oh,
House.
oh, oh.
Yeah, I know. I
was
didn't.
gonna say, wow.
I voted the right way on it, but I wasn't actually personally involved in the.
I've been blasting it all over the internet.
Oh, you have?
I have.
She's a blaster.
Wow.
That's hate speech, I think, in some circles. By the way.
Oh, my goodness.
Might be.
So anyway, the pink sheet is a recommendation from the House Conservatives, and the reason it's pink is, I think it was Laura Boyce was the one in charge of going out to print it out one session, at the first time they did it, and the only paper they had enough of was pink. and so it's been pink ever since.
And now it's known as the pink sheet.
Now it's known as the pink sheet. So anyway, we have a wonderful guest today, Karen Testerman, who has been my.
Did you tell anybody what that was? Oh, yes, you did. I'm sorry.
I did.
You did. You were good.
Yeah, see, I
I'm
just slipped
sorry.
that right by you. Karen Testerman, she was the head of Cornerstone Policy Research when I first met you back in 2000, 2001, and you just recently ran for governor, and now you're trying to help Senator Santorum, and you have your hands in pretty much everything, but.
I try not to, but it sort of comes floating across my desk. You know how
Yes.
that is.
A lot
So-
of floatarial. Well, we're talking about
Flotillary?
floatarials today.
Yeah. You're redistricting and
Yes.
thinking about putting those back in. I kind of like that.
Yeah. Well, we can't do it. The districts were supposed to, according to the constitutional amendment we did in 2006, every town that has enough quantity of population. I think the number is 3,900 something. Has any more than that should get at least one state representative. The problem is the federal government has already passed laws or it's gone to the Supreme Court that you one man, one vote. And if you deviate from one man, one vote more than a certain percentage, they find it unconstitutional. So we've had to work with the numbers, and we've been working, the redistricting committee's been working for months, and they came up with a pretty good plan. But and on something like that affects people's districts, it doesn't matter how good the plan is, there's somebody that's upset with it.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And Representative Valancourt was up there ranting and raving today about it.
Steve Valancourt?
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say what I was going to say.
He makes me chuckle, but yes.
Anyway, I'll reframe. But anyway, there was Republican leadership had said, vote for the committee amendment and the floor amendment presented by Representative Mirsky and somebody else. We got that through, and then kill everything else because the Democrats were offering all kinds of other amendments to try to. I think a lot of times the opposing party just does things to try to trip up the party that's in charge.
Sure, sure.
And a lot of that was that. I can give you some examples, but it's too ridiculous. But anyway, one of the floor amendments passed, and because I told Norm I'd be here earlier to be on his show, as I was turning off my key, the speaker had just shut everything down because one of the votes didn't go the way he wanted, and he had a caucus. The speaker has the option of calling a caucus, which means pulling all the Republicans into Representatives Hall, kick the Democrats out, and start yelling at them. And I get to miss that.
Oh.
But that's how I left today. It was on that one.
But you've experienced that before, I'm sure. The being yelled at.
Not often. It's
Really?
pretty rare. Yeah,
Oh.
yeah. It's not. I don't recall them stopping because things didn't go the speaker's way. And
Really?
actually, yeah,
Oh.
this is an unusual thing.
Is that really why it was? They
yes,
did?
yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yes, but I got out just in time.
You got out
in the
just
nick
in
of time.
time.
What else did we do? What else did we do? Oh, I don't remember what happened on that one. Entry to private land. We were trying to do something about some of the town officials and things like that feel it's within their right to just go on people's private property to assessors and different people like that.
They
and
just had a court case somewhere that where the police did a sting operation. They had
Yeah, but this
had
is
report.
this isn't
Oh, this is different.
I don't think this is specifically police. The one you're talking about, I think, was over near the Seacoast. Was that it? Where
I don't know the location, but wherever it was, they had a report from the neighbors that they suspected that there was marijuana being grown in the house, and so the police drove by. They checked the electricity use records and so forth, and they had reason to suspect it. So they were going around the outside of the perimeter of her property and smelled it. So then they went and got their warrant to go in and investigate.
But they had to actually get onto that person's property to obtain enough evidence to get the warrant, which is pretty
Yeah,
sketchy.
Yeah.
I'm just reassured to hear the police have nothing more important to be doing. I'm glad there's
Yes.
no real crime or anything. For
No,
them to
no,
have to
no
deal
real
with.
crime.
That's good. You know.
But somebody might be trying to make a profit somewhere. You
Yeah,
can't
well,
get
we
stuff
can't have
back.
that. Oh, no, no, no.
Oh, dear. Meanwhile, I want to know what you think about this.
Oh, wait.
Oh, okay.
There was one more. What the heck did we do?
Uh-oh.
We did the redistricting. Oh, CACR 13, did it pass? Gosh, I'm so brain damaged. I should know this. Yes, it did pass. CACR 13, basically, as amended, says that we, if it goes to the voters, if it gets to the voters and they vote on it, CACR 13 will assure you that you will never have an income tax.
Oh, that's that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
the argument against CACR 13 is
Yeah.
one really good argument against it.
Yeah.
And it's so political that it's kind of pathetic. And that is that if we don't pass CACR 13 and prevent the legislator from ever implementing an income tax, then we will always have that as a tool to make sure the Republicans stay in control.
That is very political.
That's horrible too, because if we actually had
That's
the votes
interesting.
to get that through, it's taken an arrow out of the Republican quiver.
Right.
But by the same token, we were very close to actually passing an income tax.
Which is our major advantage.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
It
one
is
of
a
the
very big advantage.
Right.
It is.
And
it-
if we could ever get our electricity rates under control, we'd be running away like gangbusters with lots of business and
Yeah.
manufacturing. However,
Yes.
you brought up a very interesting point.
it's one
we
in a row, Matthew.
redistrict-
Keep track of-
Ooh, yeah.
Four-
Oh, believe me, I keep track in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
400 or 3,900. I can remember when it was 3,000 or 3,300 per district.
I
And
could
when
have the
you're
numbers wrong, though, so
But I
don't-
mean, but the reality is that we're restricted because of the size of the building to how many legislators we have. Because originally it was one legislator per. I forgot what the real reason was, but they had to, because the House was only so big and they could only maintain so many. They finally restricted it to 400
The
legislators.
375 to 400 house is the
Yeah.
Constitution, I believe.
So now that it's 400, limited to 400, it has to adjust because of population. So we don't want to grow our population too big because then we lose our closeness to our individual representatives, like you.
Right. I don't know.
That's why I don't have kids.
Oh, now see, there you're doing something else wrong.
Well,
Because you're limiting our demographics, and so we need to be able to reproduce ourselves so that we have another, generation in
I
society.
think you
and
just
so forth.
contradicted yourself.
I know
by
I
the
did.
way.
I did.
I'm kind of liberal in some ways, Karen. You don't want more of me anyway. Trust me.
I'm working
Well,
on
we'll
it.
be
I'm working on it.
challenged. We'll be challenged. It will be fun.
Oh, what the heck did I hear? I can't find it on my schedule. Judiciary, okay, that's possibly because it was on Thursday. But the funniest one was there's legislation apparently to, that all legislation has to be somehow connected to or derived from the Magna Carta. I'm
Okay.
not kidding.
Okay, that means we all have to go back and study. Now, we haven't covered the Magna Carta in a long, long time.
Well, I know that there's one provision in there, and this is too funny, is that if I pass away and my wife passes away and my son was underage, like say he was 12, in between the time he's 12 and 18, where he's in the age of being an adult, the Jews cannot enact a interest on the money owed by the father on the child until he reaches that age.
The
So that's a really
Jews?
important. The Jews.
The Jews.
The Jews cannot. So therefore, I think it's probably really important we do.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And that's an issue that really just doesn't get enough discussion. in my view.
Not enough people.
Well, what I really want to know is, what do you think about the James O'Keefe activity?
I thought that was awesome. We were just talking about that on the last show. Yeah, that was awesome.
But the governor's very, very upset. He says that they broke a whole bunch of laws.
Now, what is this? You
This
guys,
is
are,
the-
you guys are
the-
getting all insider.
No,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah,
It was all over WMUR. I'm
Yeah.
sure you have.
Yeah,
you know.
no, he knows. But he just the terminology is the sticking point. You know the sting operation that the people did to go and to the voting place and ask for ballots for dead people.
Yes, yes.
That's what she's talking
Okay,
about.
okay.
And that happened. I don't know how many places around the state.
14 places.
14
Oh, really?
places
That
They
around
went
the
to
state.
14 different places,
Wow.
Yep.
and
Were
they
they ever
only.
unsuccessful?
I don't think so.
In a small town, that'd be dangerous because they probably know Bob, who has been dead for.
Well, they should have. However, you know, you kind of wonder because I don't know where they went. I don't know if they only went to certain population sizes, but
I would think
No.
so. I mean, because you go to Ware and you go to, I'm Tom Smith. The lady there probably knows Tom.
well, that's what the assumption is,
Right.
Gary. But
but in
in
the big
fact,
cities, that's not the case.
Right.
well, but in fact, my husband sat at the Boscawen polls a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And you know they were busing people in some of these places and doing same day registration. Well, I can't remember how. It's in the thousands.
Where's Boscawen, by the way?
Boscawen is
just north of
north
Concord.
of Concord.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
Right
south
up Route
of
3.
south of Franklin and north of Concord.
Okay. Sorry.
Anyway, it's where the National Cemetery is, but that's a small town too.
Yes.
And
You would think that
you'd
would be.
think that they would stop people because they, so and so is kind of new, and would you have that many new people? I mean, in 2008 maybe it was when they really egregiously brought in people, and
Did it
you know
ever get
Ed Nail-
prosecuted?
Oh no. Ed Nail and I and other people have been working on trying to expose voter fraud in this state.
Yep.
It must be at least 10 or 15 years
What is
now.
this? Because the thing is, I have this disconnect. Because Ed Nail, for people that don't know, is somebody who you should know, especially if you live in some of the smaller towns.
Coalition of New Hampshire
Coalition
Tax.
of New Hampshire Taxpayers.
Right.
He's really, really good. And I've always had this disconnect because those complaints I thought went to the Secretary of State.
They went both to the Secretary of State and to the Attorney General's
Right.
office.
And the problem is, I know Bill Gardner, and he's a good guy. He's one of the few people in Concord that I absolutely trust. So, and I know
Careful.
Ed Nail, and he's one of the people I trust. So there's I'm having,
Well,
I got brain cramp over this one.
Yeah,
so.
it just so happens that I happen to
Uh-oh.
have brought in.
You're a troublemaker.
I
Why do
am
I
a
even talk
troublemaker,
to you?
but
Birds of a feather.
you know, you said this thing, and I just had it. What did I just do with it? Oh, here it is. It's right on top. This is what Mr. Nail has. He has copies of envelopes that were mailed to a same-day registrant
Right.
by the town of Deerfield. Okay, and these are returned, addressee unknown or address unknown. And then when you go out and you look at this address, it doesn't exist. There's never been a Bear Brook Road in Deerfield. There is no, therefore, 159 Bear Brook Road. Then you used to be able to get.
Is it possible these are people who wanted to vote who are from an alternative universe?
Oh, good call.
Possibly,
Good call.
possibly.
Yeah, because you got to think outside the box.
Yeah.
Or outside the universe in this case.
And then he has 5 different same-day registrations. This used to be the same-day registration thing. I should hold it this way so but people probably can't see it.
They can't see it anymore.
And you can get all kinds of information from it. But they're all 5 of these people are registered at this non-existing place.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Is there any evidence as to who they really are, i.e. prosecution?
No, but we do have a couple of letters from college students who said, you know, I was one of those 1,700 students that were bussed in, and I should not have voted, and so therefore please take my names off the rolls. Those
Wow.
kinds of letters.
Wow.
And-
How many of those did you say?
I don't know. One is enough, don't you think?
Yeah, but you said 1,700.
Oh, they said I was one of 1,700 UNH students who were
Wow.
wrongly registered to vote in Durham, New Hampshire.
That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now,
Wow.
has Ed or anybody on that his group gone through that and done just like a simple YouTube thing on this so that you can start posting it and
Well, you
posting
know,
it and posting
YouTube
it?
is relatively new and that kind of thing, so we don't have any actual
Well,
photographs
Jane-
like that. but
Right, no, but like
Jane
Jane,
has, yeah.
Jane could, Jane's another inside thing. Jane is somebody who works alongside Ed, and she's actually the one who knows what she's doing when it comes to computer.
Oh, yeah, and
know.
doing things on the web.
Yeah,
She's
but if we had like a
whiz.
video of you talking about it, or Jane or Ed just sitting there saying, well, you know, and show evidence, you know, and probably like you do it in conjunction with the computer, so you could
Right.
go back and forth between what he's saying and show the actual evidence, so people understood how.
Well, that's a good idea. I'll suggest that to Ed. I don't think he has
I'm
done
sure
it.
he
He's been
watches the
just-
show every week.
He's
But I
probably
did-
watching right now.
Right, I
yes.
would think.
Yeah. So
Hi, Ed.
obviously,
Who wouldn't?
Hi, Ed. Yeah.
But of course, now, the thing is that, like I said, this has been going on for a period of years, and he is running a workshop this Saturday. So if you go up to cnht.org, you can sign up for the workshop and come and see what he has. And
What's the workshop on?
on voter fraud. And
workshop on voter fraud.
A workshop on voter fraud. And he basically shows you what he's found and talks about the fact that, okay, he did this, and then we no longer have voter registration cards like this any longer. We now have a sheet that doesn't show a lot of the information you used to get on your voter registration
That's
cards.
convenient.
That is very convenient, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, there was a reason I took this last night. But at any rate, so, but those are things that have been taken to the Attorney General's office, and they have decided that there is no voter fraud. In fact, up on the Secretary of State's website now, you can see where they have these situations where they say that there's potential voter fraud, and they've not found any at all. So there is no voter fraud in New Hampshire, except that you can go and pull a dead person's ballot,
Right.
Right.
because we don't require any.
Well, it's like we were talking about
Identification.
earlier, though. If somebody passes away, it seems to me reasonable that you could reasonably predict how they would have voted.
Well, you were talking earlier about the Jimmy Carter thing,
Yeah, the
which
Jimmy
was
Carter
interesting.
thing,
I
yeah.
didn't know about that.
Well, I really think that there's no reason, especially with today's technology, that our county courts can't be talking to one another and
Yeah.
know what's going on. That when somebody goes in and pulls a death certificate, and that it wouldn't automatically go to various places and pull that person's name.
The whole
Right.
system should be modernized,
Right.
really. It
Yeah.
seems very sort of.
But they did that. They did that. Remember, in 2004, that was one of the things that Governor Lynch was going to accomplish. He was going to update all of the computer systems, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think it really got updated until like last year.
Right.
And they still aren't talking to each other.
Right,
So
yeah.
what's going on?
Right. Yeah. You would think this is too.
He just meant they were going to install a new web browser like Google Chrome.
Right,
and all of
yeah,
them. That's probably what he
exactly.
meant, yeah.
Well, I think he's just going to put the state on Facebook.
Oh, that yes,
Yes,
yes.
that's all
That's
he
probably
meant,
what he was
really.
talking about. Yeah, maybe the state has a YouTube channel.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
We should.
yeah.
Well, I mean, we can now actually watch the proceedings in the State House. Didn't used
Oh,
to
there's
be.
a better site to watch it. Wait.
Uh-oh.
Wait, don't tell me.
See, for real, you can watch.
Oh, yeah.
Really, yeah.
Yeah, if you were that depraved.
I've been known to watch C-SPAN, so it's
Okay,
not that much different.
jeez, he wrote it so small.
You want me to read it?
Those at home, www.pegondemand.tv. Peg on demand. Peg on Demand TV
Okay.
is Dick
TV.
Gagnon is doing that, and it's
It's much better.
it should be. It can't get
Okay.
much worse.
All right.
I mean, if anybody's watched the live stream production or live stream of the New Hampshire legislature, it's pretty horrible. You can tell there's people down there, but what gender they are is another question altogether.
Really?
Oh, really?
Oh, it's not that bad.
Interesting.
I'm
Oh,
not
goodness.
exaggerating. I'm
That's a-
exaggerating
That's
ever
a
so
twist I
much.
wasn't expecting.
Yes.
All right.
What?
I said all right.
Okay. As long as it's all right.
It's all right. It's all right now. In fact, it's a guess.
So anyway, so that was Ed Nail doing that this weekend. Where again?
He's doing it up in Concord at the CNHT offices, which that are at, I think it's 8 North Main Street.
Can you post that on your Facebook so that I can post it on?
I certainly will.
or-
I'll
or
send
you
you
can-
the information.
You know my rock, paper, hand grenades thing on Facebook?
No, do you have a rock, paper?
Yeah, we
You
got
don't
rock,
know?
paper, hand. Jeez.
I'm in trouble.
Yes.
Oh, well.
Anyway, rock, paper, hand grenades is on Facebook. You can go there and just actually. You got a link to it on your Facebook today
Oh, okay.
because today it said Karen Testerman's going
Oh,
on the
I
show.
did see that.
Okay,
I
that
did see
should have shown up on your page.
I see.
So if you link to that, that should go to rock, paper, hand grenades.
Okay. I'm just learning how to use Facebook.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
doing real well. But
You're doing fine. So anyway, go to rock, paper, hand and post that about.
Okay,
Because that way
I
other
will.
people that go on Facebook can check it out. Because
That'll be
that
good.
is a really cool thing if you really want to get involved. I know there's somebody called me the other day and wanted to know how to get involved in politics, and that's a really good thing to get involved in, is to start understanding about voter
well,
fraud.
because it is a major threat to our first in the nation status. Who wants to go campaign someplace and use use a lot of your resources to try and go out and meet people and do retail politics, only to find out that these people can come in and vote same day and totally skew everything.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing
If
is
we wanted
that
that, we could have just had the first in the nation primary in Illinois.
that's right.
That's true.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's right.
yes.
Yeah,
Good one.
yeah. In
Yeah, good
Chicago,
one.
so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, that's
impressed.
good, yeah.
The other one is that people have been raising their eyebrows about is that you can, because the undeclareds can pull any ballot on the same day,
Right.
you can also skew a result because
You mean like
Democrats
end up getting like somebody as liberal as Romney and as, is that what you're
that,
trying to say?
yeah, that or making Huntsman a
Zing,
second,
ding, 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 ding.
making Huntsman a second tier candidate
Yeah.
in the state.
You mean tear like as in crying tear?
I saw his speech when he dropped out. It
He
wasn't
dropped
that
out and it
emotional.
wasn't
No?
that emotional.
no.
No.
Yeah, he knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's what I did. I'm undeclared or independent, and I voted. Actually, I voted for my first Republican ever.
Oh, you did?
Yes, it was my
Wow.
first time voting for a Republican. I voted for Buddy Roemer.
All right. Well, Buddy Roemer is a very nice man. He's
Yes.
very interesting, and he has some good ideas.
Well, actually, that's actually kind of the cool thing about politics is once you actually get involved, you really do meet some really cool people.
Oh yeah,
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 yeah.
Now, some of them you wouldn't want to, you would never vote for
Right.
because you disagree with them on everything, but they're
Right.
still nice people.
Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
Right.
Except
You
me.
start to find what? You start to find out that people are people, and sometimes you can agree with their policies, but they're still nice people.
Right.
It's like one of the shows. Actually, I think one of our better shows was with Claire Ebel.
Oh yes.
Okay, now
Yeah.
her and
She-
I are on the opposite end
Absolutely.
of almost everything.
Yeah.
But on
Well, she's from the ACLU,
yeah,
correct?
Yes.
exactly. And the thing is, but on the privacy issues, on the real ID issues, and things like that,
Yeah.
we're two birds of a feather on
Right.
that one. So
Right.
Well, there's something you can always agree with somebody on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just finding that level of agreement. And
Do-
sometimes you'll fight with them, and sometimes you will fight against them.
right, exactly. What was it? Something else I wanted to talk to you about. Do you remember?
Sure.
What?
HB 437's coming up.
The gay marriage one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that one exactly.
Okay.
The one that we.
How
they
how do our odds look on that?
I think it
and-
looks pretty good, but we still need to have people call their legislators.
Because
so
we need 2/3.
they need to hear. Well, you need 2/3 only. That's not what you need to start off with. You
No.
you just need a majority to get it actually passed in the House, and then it needs to go to the Senate and pass, and then you need to. And then we know that the governor
Wow.
will, in
You know
all
what I just
likelihood,
realized?
veto it.
Yeah, he's going to veto it. You know what I
So
just
then
realized?
you need the 2/3.
Well, what I just realized is one of the arguments why, because there was a big move last 2 years ago. A lot of people in different towns wanted it put on the ballot
Right.
as basically as a constitute. We don't have New Hampshire is not a
Referendum.
referendum state.
So you can't
But
go
you-
out and collect it, like Maine.
Yeah.
goes out and collects signatures and then can reverse something that the legislature has done.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
And that's a good thing. The referendum state has killed California because they vote against taxes and they vote for more services,
Right.
Yeah.
which, there's a little math problem there.
Right.
But now, but one of the arguments against going to a constitutional amendment was we really didn't have the votes
In the populace.
in the legislature.
Well,
Now, but let me finish. So,
okay.
and that made sense until about 2 seconds ago when I realized we're going to need that kind of percentage anyway to get it past the governor.
Right. But no, not on the constitutional amendment, because the constitutional amendment, you only need 60%
60, yes.
of the sitting membership.
Correct.
Okay. That, and it goes to the House and then it goes to the Senate.
Yes.
And then it goes to the people.
Correct.
The governor has nothing to do with that one.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In other words, we needed a high threshold of legislators, regardless of which direction we took.
Well-
but one of them would end up in the hands of the people and let them decide for themselves.
Exactly, and that's one where if you want to be able to vote on this, if the public wants to be able to vote on this in a constitutional amendment, they have to call their legislators and say, put it on the ballot, because
Right.
right now they're not thinking about doing it.
Right, yeah, no, that was some of the discussion we had in the halls of the legislature, and people had said, no, we don't want to do that because we don't have the...
Well, you know what? I
And I don't think-
I
now
don't go
that I
along
think-
with this business about, well, we don't have the votes. Well, you know what? Then you bring it back again, because that's what we've been doing for years. That's what the other side does for years about what? Raising taxes, about trying to get a state income tax,
Right,
et
they
cetera.
keep just
They
coming
keep
back
coming
at it,
back
back,
and
back,
coming back
yep.
at it. William Wilberforce, when he was he wanted to do two things when he got into Parliament. And one of them was to put an end to slavery, and the other one was to restore manners.
Well, he got 1 out of 2.
I know, but it took him 40 years to get that one.
Right.
Yeah.
So the same thing goes with you try again.
What is this? There's an old saying about something about
If
he
at
who
first-
succeeds. No, not that
Oh.
one. He who succeeds is the one who is most persistent, not necessarily the one who's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And
Matt.
What are you saying?
Nothing.
Okay.
so going back to your other question, we have to have a supermajority, the 67%, 66 and 2/3, 67% of those who are voting to override the governor's veto.
Right.
So that's why there's all of this concern about supermajorities.
We have our
Sure.
first call of the day.
Wow.
Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
Yes, hi. This is former Representative Hagan. How are you?
Good.
Hi, how are you, young
Barbara?
lady?
I am. Oh, thank you for calling me young. Oh, you made my day. I first of all want to congratulate Representative Hopper on his position to the Judiciary Committee.
Oh.
I can't think of a chairman who deserves you more, and I'm so excited for you.
Thank
and for
you.
the members of your committee. I have a somewhat of a devil's advocate question that I'd like to ask all of you while you're there.
It's not like you.
Well, you know where I think you know where I stand.
No, nobody
I
knows
stand
where
for
you
traditional
stand.
Values. I stand for family. I stand for life. But I think that it would be a huge service to the listening audience if you could explain why you are supporting this marriage amendment, which allows government to have a say in families. And I'm putting this question to you because I think it would help clarify for a lot of people, especially Gary, where you're talking about how strongly you are on the privacy issues, and I'm there with you on a lot of that. And Karen, I know you've worked really hard on the marriage issue. But I think it's important. Why is it important that government embraces this idea of marriage and that we have it as a government issue in find in legislation. And I'm going to hang up and listen, and I hope other people will listen, and then maybe it will also compel people to call their legislators on the bill.
Barbara, or the Honorable Barbara, you still there?
I am.
Okay, so you're talking about the libertarian position of why is the government involved in marriage at all?
Yeah.
Okay,
I am.
okay.
And I've had a lot of people talking with me about this, and I understand what they're trying to say about it. I also understand from history that civilizations that have fallen away from a moral compass have disintegrated. So it's a sensitive issue, and I think if you guys could maybe shed some light on why it's important for government to be involved in this,
Okay.
that it might help your vote. And it also might help people to be inspired to call their legislators and say, look, you need to support this because.
Right.
So that's why I'm asking the question. And I so appreciate the forum, and I'm so happy to see you on Manchester Cable Access, Gary and Karen, and thank you so much for being there and for having your program.
Well, thanks, Barbara. I'll try. Karen and I will try to wing this one.
Actually, I have 7 good reasons why.
Well, anyway.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks.
All right.
I hate it when informed
Bye-bye.
voters, informed people call, because then you actually have to ask relative.
Action. Well, you actually have to discuss it in some
Yeah, I know.
semblance of
I know.
in-
That's horrible.
Convince me, because I'm pro-gay marriage.
Okay,
so
go ahead.
convince me. There's your
Well,
challenge.
first of all, America was founded on the founding principles, right? That we were endowed with certain unalienable rights, and that they come from our Creator.
Correct.
So it's the Creator that gives us our rights. That's what makes America different from any other country in the world, is that we're not dependent upon a monarchy or a dictator or an elite group of people who tell us what our rights are or give us our rights.
Right. Okay.
Okay? So that being said, one of the things that government does is to protect those inalienable rights. And one of those inalienable rights is the right to life. Well, where do you get life? But you get it from a man and a woman coming together.
Right.
And what happens in living in many cases is that we have this ideal that we will be self-governed. But the reason that government is involved in the first place is because sometimes we as fallen men don't. And every time we create a vacuum, then the government steps in and laws are passed to
Compensate.
Right. So what has happened over the years is that we have men who are basically coming in, they impregnate a woman, and a child results.
Right.
And so government got involved because they wanted to ensure that whoever that man was that he was going to be responsible for the children that he brings into the world. Financially, mentally, socially, whatever. But he is, until that child becomes of age. So that's why government gets involved in sanctioning marriage in the first place, is simply so they can have on the roll books who was the father of this child. And when you start to confuse that now by redefining marriage and giving us a counterfeit marriage, then there are no children produced. Then it also opens up the door to, how do you define it? Is it one man and another man, or is it a man and 3 women, or is it a man and his dog? Where do you stop the definition when you start
We're
to
talking
redefine
about Maine
one?
or New Hampshire?
Oh,
Maine actually
the dog, yeah.
But
Mainers,
because of their referendum, they actually turned it over. And
Careful, you know what happened to Senator Santorum for talking like
yeah,
that.
No. I can tell you what I said. I was at the St. A's holding signs for Senator Santorum, and I was leaving after we were done, screaming and yelling and pretending we care. I was walking out, and
you put an awful lot of effort into stuff you don't care about, if that's the case.
You're blowing my cover. So anyway, there's somebody with a Ron Paul balloon. Okay, and I thought that was
You
pretty
popped
cool.
it?
No, no, no.
Oh, okay.
No, the guy had a whole bunch of them. I says, can I get one of those for my son? He's still on the fence between Santorum and Ron Paul. And so he gave it to me. And we had talked earlier, so I was kind of friendly with him. I didn't agree with him, obviously, but I was
Right.
friendly with him.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking down the thing, and one of the women that was with him, and I started yelling at him. So what are you giving? He's a Santorum supporter, and she got all mad at me.
Really?
And the guy she was with got mad at me. And I kind of just walked away, whatever. If you want it back, you can have it back. And the guy that gave it to me says, no, he's all right, he's all right. So anyway, I get back to my car, and it turns out not the man, but the woman, but the man that was upset was parked right next to me. It turns out has mass plates, so they're good. But anyway, this issue came up. Because a lot of the people who were fighting against Santorum were basically calling him a bigot.
Right, right.
And he said, are you a bigot? I said, no. He says, well, you hate people? I said, I don't hate anybody. He says, well, how, you're a state legislator, because he saw the plates.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, and he says, how do you vote on it? So I vote against gay marriage every 2 years. And he says, well, why? And I said, fundamentally, if you look over the past 40 years, and Karen and I have worked on stuff together about this, the breakdown of the family has so decimated this country and this state that it's absolutely profound. To give you an example, in 1960, about 6% of the children were born out of wedlock. 6%. 36% now. The number of teen suicides climbed through the roof as the family broke down. The incarceration rate went through the roof. If you listen to the Free Staters, they will claim that it's because of the drug wars. It has absolutely nothing to do with the drug wars. It has everything to do with, as the family has broken down, society has broken down as a result. Because a child's fundamental rock, so to speak, in their life is mom and dad. As that breaks it down, the security of the child breaks down, and insecurity breeds in anger and stuff like that, and self-medicating oneself through drugs is a way to compensate for that, at least only temporarily, until it turns on you. So we've filled our prisons, we've filled all our social workers, and created more social workers to compensate for the overflow of dysfunctional children.
And those social workers are paid for by government programs, right?
which enables more people to become more dysfunctional, and then we create social programs to help them, which creates more dependency, and government gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Liberty declines, and it's all a function, in my mind, of an absolute breakdown of the family. And just a second. If you include gay marriage, you're only further eroding that fundamental structure that is absolutely necessary for a strong government.
Okay, we'll grab this. Hi, welcome to Rock, Paper, Hand Grenades. Who's on the line?
The lady that sits next to Representative Hopper in Judiciary.
Welcome to the show,
Well,
lady
it's-
who sits next to Senator,
Right.
Representative
Whatever,
Hopper.
I got a promotion.
I gave you a promotion.
Yeah, thank you. That was cheap.
You just got one promotion to Judiciary. Don't give him another.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. Representative Souza, top of the evening to you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having Karen on. I'm enjoying the show, and I just wanted to make a quick comment because my buddy Barbara had called in. And,
Oh, this is going to be a fight.
okay, government is involved. Government has a great deal to do with our lives. And so what side do we want government on? Okay, we don't want government on the wrong side, because if a government okays gay marriage, and gay marriage is legal, then what is going to happen to our children and our grandchildren when they go to school? Well, the government schools are going to teach that gay marriage is fine. Our children and our grandchildren are going to come home and say, Mommy, why didn't you marry another woman? Or Daddy, why didn't you marry another man? And we'll explain it's wrong, but the government, through the schools and the teachers and the textbooks, will all say counter. So we're going to be fighting our government if we don't have it on the right side. And as you know, Laura's teacher, and so I would like just to throw that out, that that's just one of the many, many reasons that because government does have a role in our lives, we've got to make sure they're on the right side.
Very good.
Yep, I think it's just a further extension of the education system contradicting what they're being taught at home.
Well, but
Yep, and
but
it will
Kathy,
be actually, if gay marriage stays, it won't be too many more states before the gay lobbyists will insist that all the textbooks be rewritten, and we will have no choice.
well, Kathy makes a very good point, and that is that these counterfeit marriages take away our individual rights, and then we've got case after case after case that's been occurring of late because you don't agree with what they want you to agree with. They don't. You're not affirming their counterfeits. And examples left and right. Okay, you've got the photographer out in Arizona who said she would prefer not to, because she objected to it personally by her religious views.
She hang up?
Uh-oh.
you
Bye,
still there?
Kathy.
Thanks for calling, Kathy.
But
Oh, she did hang up. Okay.
but because of her personal religious views, did not want to photograph the same-sex couple, but she referred them to other potential photographers. She
Right.
was fined by the Equal
It's
Rights,
Arizona, right?
the Human Rights Commission, $6,000.
Oh, really? Yeah,
for
see,
doing
that I
it.
don't
and
agree
and
with
in
that.
Connecticut,
But, well, it's a
you have-
consequence of
but
the-
it's a consequence. In Connecticut, you have a church that rents its hall out, but because they said it was against their teaching in their church to rent it out to a same-sex couple, they went to court, and they ended up being sanctioned because they didn't do that. You have
Catholic Charities. Catholic
Catholic Charities
is huge because Catholic Charities was one of the main groups in Boston that actually they specifically
placed-
targeted having children adopted that were difficult children to adopt.
Right.
They took the time to do it.
Right.
But then the state of Massachusetts said that you have to adopt to gay couples. And so they had a choice of staying in business,
Right.
and they didn't receive, public money.
Yeah.
They had of staying in business or adopting the gay couple, so they had to go with what the Bible says rather than what the state said.
Right.
And so there's that many more children that are not going to be adopted because of the consequences of the marriage laws in Massachusetts.
Right, and in Massachusetts and California now, the exactly what Kathy was describing, you no longer have any say on whether your child gets indoctrinated into that information. If you personally don't agree with it, then you, in most cases, it used to be that you could go to the school and say, I want to opt my child out of this particular program and I'll find something else for them to do, or you as the school would find something else for
Right.
that child
Which
to do
I
during
agree
that
with.
period
That
of time.
you should have that option as a
You
parent.
should
No,
have
I
that
agree with
option.
that. Absolutely.
It no longer exists in Massachusetts. If you don't want your child to be exposed to king and king, then it's too bad. You have to withdraw your child and put them in a private school.
Yeah,
Forget
and-
the fact that you're paying taxes for this stuff. It's the same. I mean,
Yeah, there's a guy that was actually ended up incarcerated at least overnight because he demanded that they do something, and because he got so I don't think he even got
he
belligerent.
wasn't
was
belligerent. They set
he
him up
was
to be
insistent
arrested.
Yeah.
But
that he ended up in jail because he did not want his child. It was a little kid too. It was I
Right.
forget how young it was.
5
It was
years old.
5 years
Kindergarten.
old.
Yeah.
Kindergarten, being exposed to this stuff because it was against his religion.
Right.
So it's the real fundamental thing is if you're involved in any industry, I don't care what it is. For me, it was tool making. You had to have standards. Okay, if you don't have standards, anything goes. Like for instance, when the manufacturer of this hand grenade, okay, that thread that's in the end of this hand grenade, okay, is a standard. If it says half 13, that's a standard thread. They know what class thread it is. If the manufacturer of this part, which is because this is a casting, so this company is making the other side of that, okay? If there weren't standards, this guy could send this company to put those together, any thread he wanted, and say, yeah, I did it. And they say, well, no, you didn't. But because there's standards, you can actually measure that thread and determine what class thread it is, and that it's inconsistent and doesn't fit. So therefore, this company is not liable to pay him for a product that's inadequate. It's standards. Everything needs standards. The standard of marriage is a biological once married couple. And that standard, we know from history, works. It works very, very well. And once you deviate from that standard, things start to get worse and worse. We started deviating with people getting remarried. That wasn't that good. And then we went from that because that standard was no longer relevant. You ended up with people not even getting married at all because the standard was no longer something to
Right.
aspire to.
Yeah.
And the Brookings Institute, by the way, says, I mean, they did a study on this, and they say if you want to stay out of poverty,
Stay
then
married.
get married and stay married. You know, get yourself a high school diploma and get a job, a full-time job. Then you have a 70% chance of staying out of poverty at that point. The same thing is true. You know, the fact that we have divorced and unwed motherhood going on costs the state, this state alone, $110 million a year in the programs that Gary was talking about, the government programs that have been growing and growing and growing. And the reality is, I'm glad you used that hand grenade, because there are two
How many
parts.
times do you hear that? I'm glad you used that hand grenade.
There are two parts of that.
Right.
And they go together just right in order to form the hand grenade. You take a man and a woman in order to get a child. You cannot take a man and a man to get a child. Scientifically, we need a man and a woman to procreate. And if we don't procreate at the rate of average rate of 2.1 per woman in our country, then our society is not going to continue on, even at the standard population that we have now.
I just like to bring out one fact that people may not be aware of. If you look in New York City, and this is still part of the same subject, because of the breakdown of the family and the quantity of single-parent homes, in New York City last year there were more black children aborted than born.
Yep.
That's
If you're,
that's
if
why
you're
I'm talking about the standard
right,
anyway.
and it does go into that. There is a.
Can I ask a very, because we're
Yeah,
running out of
sure.
time. Actually, I have a lot of questions, but one quick thing I just want to know, because it is kind of separate but related, civil unions. You're obviously vehemently opposed to gay marriage, but what about civil unions?
Well, the way that civil unions is written into this bill, there's an amendment that's going to be put on this bill, and I'm not sure it belongs in the marriage part of the law.
Right.
But it is being introduced that civil unions would apply to any two people who wanted to transfer legal
Okay, so
rights.
you're pro civil union?
Well, I
No.
don't think it. I
Oh,
think
you're
it's
not. Okay,
No, not.
so you're opposed to all of it.
I think civil unions, if it's in the different part of the code, is something different. But under the marriage code, it weakens what marriage is all about. It says that there is another alternative, and there isn't another alternative to marriage, really. So if you've got civil unions and it's in the part of the law that deals with contracts, I'm fine.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Well, we got to go.
We gotta go.
We got to go, unfortunately.
Well, Karen, thank you very much for showing up. You're awesome. I don't care what Matt was saying earlier.
Well,
We're
thank
glad you didn't
but
blow away.
well, yeah, and people should contact their legislators and let them know that they want them to vote on these two bills.
And you're gonna post that thing about Ed
will.
Nail on rock, paper, hand
Absolute.
grenades.
Rock, paper, hand
Now that you
grenade.
know about it.
Now that I know about it,
No.
and now that I know how to use Facebook,
There you
I
go.
will.
There you go.
I will.
Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks,
Matt,
everybody.
you're the best, by the way. I don't care what I was saying. Well, not really, but
I understand.
take care,
Thanks.
brother.